Hey there, this is Erica Spradley, Chief Power Officer and founder of Confident Career Woman. I wanted to share some career management strategies with you if you are looking to land your next role, especially before the end of 2020. I'll start by sharing an aspect of my career journey that not only positioned me for what it is I do today, but that also helps me help other women get hired. I was at a point in my career where I wanted to be able to go to church on Sundays. I could not do that. So, from a work life balance perspective, I was extremely dissatisfied. I was a retail store manager. The bulk of the traffic for my store came in on the weekends. And of course, when no one else would show up for work, the expectation is that I would be there, whether I was scheduled to be there or not. So over time, I would have conversations with my then leader, and I decided that the best option for me would be to strategically plan my exit. I eventually gave a 6-week notice, took all of the money out of my 401k, put my resume on monster.com, and went on vacation. While I was on vacation, a recruiter from a bank contacted me about 2 roles. One was a financial center manager role, the other was a financial specialist role. Well, I didn't apply for a role in banking. I didn't have my college degree. I'd never worked for a bank. And to be honest with you, I didn't think I was qualified to work for a bank. So, long story short, the opportunity was legitimate. I ended up securing a role in banking as a branch manager, having never worked in the industry, no degree. That's when the lights went off for me in terms of the idea of leveraging transferable skills to manage your career. I encourage women and the men that I coach to make sure that they are not limiting themselves by title and or industry because they've never had a particular role or they've never worked in a particular industry. I was able to leverage my leadership skills, my coaching and development skills, my sales skills, my customer service skills, and position them on my resume and speak to them during the interview in a way that opened an opportunity for me in a totally different industry. I later did that again in my role as an adjunct professor. My degree is not in education. I've never formally taught. So when I share with you these things can be done, it's not because of something I read, it's because of things I've done for myself and things that I've helped my clients do. So the first thing I'll share with you as it relates to the story that I just shared is I did what a lot of people do, and that is I had a vision. I wrote the vision, I made it plain. I knew that I wanted to secure a different role that would allow me to go to church on Sundays. So I created a goal and I did an assessment of the pros and cons. Create a goal, count the costs. Make sure you do that regardless of whether you are looking to move up in your company, whether you are looking to make a move, you're unemployed, it would be an external hire. Whatever it is, just make sure that you do your due diligence and count the costs as it relates to the next role that you are going to secure. The second thing is the resume. There's so many people who need resume assistance. Maybe it's because they don't have the time to do it themselves, or maybe it's because they just don't know how. Over the years, I've had people say in my workshops, I just can't get past these applicant tracking systems. Well, there is a website called jobscan.com that will give you free scans of an assessment, for lack of a better term. They call it a report that will measure your resume against a job posting that you upload into the system. So here's the way it works. You get a limited amount of free scans. You can either copy and paste or upload, whichever works best for you, your existing resume and a role you'd like to secure. And that website will generate a report to let you know where you stand from the perspective of an applicant tracking system so that you'll know whether or not you're using the right keywords and where you stand from the perspective of whether or not that resume will open the door to an interview for you. I will also suggest, as it relates to your resume, that you make sure you're using the right resume type. When I was looking for jobs in retail, I used a chronological resume. same industry, same type of work, just different employer. When I knew that I wanted something different, I switched my resume type. I started using a functional resume that would showcase my relevant skills, not necessarily my work history. So a lot of times, chronological resumes, depending on how you format them, will focus on your work history, whereas a different resume type, such as a functional resume, will highlight your skills. If you do not have access to a skill listing, simply go to www.confidentcareerwoman.com. That is my online course platform, and enroll in my free course, SWAT Your Way to the Top. You can find a transferable skill listing in there, specifically on page 4 of that document. But also, what that course allows you to do is manage your career like a business. It allows you to assess your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. What I will tell you is I attended a webinar earlier during the pandemic, and one of the speakers said that jobs are quickly being created and eliminated. So when I talk about count the cost, it's not just from the perspective of looking for a job right now. It's also considering where you'll be long term. What you don't want to do is potentially secure a role that you're thinking will be long term, when in actuality it won't. You can do a simple job search or a Google search for companies hiring during the pandemic. You can do a job search for fastest growing industries. And that will tell you, one, or at least give you insight in terms of companies that are hiring, and two, what are those fastest growing industries? Once you have an idea of what those fastest growing industries are, you can then start to look for relevant roles that you find attractive within those industries. And then if you want to go one level deeper, you can look at the skills that are required for those roles. And that will help you determine whether or not you need to upskill, reskill, or if you are exactly where you need to be to land some of those roles. For those of you who may be interested in remote work, you can Google remote working opportunities during COVID-19, or work from home jobs during COVID-19. And there are websites out there that have nothing else listed other than opportunities where you can work remotely. The last thing I'll share with you is just make sure that you are ready to interview. When you've decided that you want to secure another role, at that point, if not before, you should have been preparing for your interview. Do not wait until you're contacted. You may not have enough time to prepare. If you need help with your interviewing skills, of course, yes, I offer one-on-one coaching, but there's another step you can take, and that is, if you haven't enrolled in my interviewing course, How to Communicate with Confidence and Credibility, that too is a free course. You can enroll in that course so that you will have an understanding of what an effective response looks like during an interview from a behavioral-based interview perspective. And what that simply means is those STAR responses. There is a distinct difference between how you respond to tell me about yourself versus tell me about a complex problem you solved. So, quick recap. You want to make sure that you are managing your career like a business, and you want to make sure that you are leveraging your skills in such a way that you're not limiting yourself. Leverage your skills in such a way that you do not limit yourself. Don't limit yourself by title. Don't limit yourself by industry. If you need access to a resource or document that will help you identify your skills, you can just simply enroll in my SWAT Your Way to the Top free course. That's at www.confidentcareerwoman.com. Make sure your resume is ready. Make sure that you are relevant during these challenging times that we are experiencing. You can leverage jobscan.com to give you feedback on your existing resume in comparison to a role that you're interested in securing. And lastly, you want to make sure that your interviewing skills are stellar. If you have not taken advantage of another one of my free courses, How to Communicate with Confidence and Credibility, and you feel like you need a better understanding of what is an effective response, feel free to, again, just go to www.confidentcareerwoman.com and enroll in How to Communicate with Confidence and Credibility. I am going to go live in the near future. If there are any career topics that you would like for me to tackle, simply drop them in the comments. If you have questions about anything I've shared in this video, simply drop them in the comments. And until next time, play bigger and make power moves.